Okay, I've got vocals, I've got audio, so I'm good. All right, this is going to be part two for BISS 1123, Business Problem Analysis. And as you note from last night, as I said, the way I make this as a hybrid course is that I spend 75 minutes in seat time there in the lab, and then I record a second, then I make a second screencast video that can be viewed on demand. That way you get your 150 minutes of instruction. Now I want to just reemphasize again, I'm over here at module 01, and the class was last night, the 30th of August. You'll notice that you had XLS 1 that was due and XLS 2 that was due. Okay? You'll notice that I've provided a key for each of them. Here's how I handle the workshops. If you make an attempt to work through one of these or all of them, I'm fine with that, because the screencasts are devoted to the workshop piece of the course. The workshops, you get credit for trying. And it's in your best interest, even if you just on your own work with the spreadsheets, those cases, it's good for you to listen to the screencast, because all of these in one way or the other will be part of a hands-on portion of your exam. Now, I have people ask me, okay, how do I know what to use? Well, you could see right here, I have an Excel file that has resources for my MS, Microsoft Excel cases, excuse me. And I've downloaded that to my desktop. You could download it and email it to yourself if you wish. It's there. And here it is. And I'm going to open it up. Now, you'll notice that we have case 1, XLS 1, and what's the business problem? This is a business problem analysis course, so it's fair to say when you do these workshops, how do they relate to these business problems? And as I said before, as I said last week on the 23rd, what we do is we take a classic, if you will, or typical set of business problems, and we use spreadsheets and we use database as a way to take data that we have and convert that data to information that's actionable. And so our very first case, we were looking at client tracking and prospect sources. Now, you'll notice that I have an example file, okay, and it's in the modules section in Canvas or the supplemental website. It's in one of those two, and it's called Whistle Cleaners. And we didn't go over that last night, but I'm going to grab it. And I'm going to go into the Files section. And I'm going to look for Whistle Cleaners. We'll just go down here. And here it is. Now, I'm going to open the file up, and this is an example, okay? Now, I'm going to provide you a similar case, and those are in the Excel textbook. Now, we'll look at that in just a moment because I identify where to find that, the file itself, plus the text passage that it relates to. And I'm going to download this. And we'll close this off real quickly. Whistle cleaners. Okay. And it's downloaded. I'll put show in the folder, and it's showing in my folder. And I'm going to take that and put it on the desktop. Now, I'm going to pretend that I was going to upload this for an assignment. So what I'm going to do is download it to the desktop. Then I'm going to rename it. Now, I could rename this Whistle Cleaners. I could just put Harmon. And then I'll upload it in the place in Canvas where it says Upload XLS1. Now, I want to open up Whistle Cleaners for just a moment, or a few moments. And I will enable the editing. And again, if this is a file I'm going to turn in, I will rename it, save it to my desktop, and then upload it to Moodle in the appropriate place and identifies those for you. This is from an old case that I used to use. The textbook is out of print now, but I love that text. I wish it still was, but it's not. This is a simple sales prospect tracking system. And you'll notice here, it has some things like where you can put your name in. It has some things like sales ranges, which there are none, the date, and the macros, if any exist. Now, if I want to date and time, date and time stamp this, it's easy. I'm going to equal now. And it says 8/31/2018. So if I save this worksheet, each time I open it up, it's going to be at that current date using the now function. And so over here, these are data formulas. This is a date and time. Okay. Notice if I want to, I can also insert the function, and that gives you the function arguments. But often what will happen is that you will see what to input. The functions have dialog boxes. In this case, they don't. Now, here we have Whistle Cleaners, So we have this information area up here, and now we can start to do some work with this. One of the things we've done is we've put Whistle Cleaner's prospect tracking, and then we've merged and centered it, so we have this bar. Now right below it, okay, I have a natural frame, and I'm going to use blue. I'm going to use dark blue. Okay. And I'm going to come below here I'll make that dark blue. Now, I need to go ahead and carry this over. And there. Now, the whole point of using this is to guide the reader. And now to make it even easier for them, I'm going to go ahead and I have these bolds, which are the dimensions of this array, the company, first and last name, telephone, email address, the date they're called, and any follow-up. And I'm going to use a light blue to create the table. And then the last thing that I'm going to do here is, I'm just doing some follow-up. Just embellish it some so that it looks pretty. And so when the reader, when a user opens this up, okay, then they're going to see this information, and you could take the title's already pretty good. I could take this section and I'll go ahead and put some fill there. And I think what I'll do here is, instead of that, let's see what I want to do. Yeah, I think I'll do that. And I'm going to put a box around it. So I'm going to make it all borders. Okay. All outside borders, excuse me. And so far, I'm going to guide the reader down to the prospect tracking log. Now, what we have here is a set of the company, the name, etc., and whether or not we follow them up. Now, this is set up so that we have a good handle on how long it's been since somebody called, and we would want to organize this. So I'm going to take my cursor and I'm going to run it all the way from A10 down to G19. And I'm going to come up here on the ribbon and find, pardon me, I'm going to do a custom sort. And then I get the custom sort dialog. And I'm going to have them sorted by date called. And I'm going to take it from I'm going to go from the oldest to the newest. And let's see here. I think that'll give us what we want to see. Make sure that this says my data has headers. and we'll click OK. Now this obviously isn't right, so let's go back in here and take a look at this. And I did a custom sort on the date called. So that's not going to help us. Here's what we're going to do for a moment. We're going to do what we call a little bit of data wrangling. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to put my cursor in F11. Okay. And I'm going to come up here and click, and I'm going to turn these into numbers. Now, if I click in the formula bar, and so I've converted them to numbers, and we've taken the dates, which are just simply numbers, and we've converted them to that. Now let's do our search. Our custom filter, custom sort. Yee! And I'm going to sort them from the largest to the smallest, and that way we'll go in descending order. No, I want the smallest to the largest. And here we are. Now these are the people who we've called, and we want to find out, have we followed up? Yes or no. Now this will be a little bit simpler. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in here to F11 down to F19, and I'm going to put them back in a short date. And there we are, and it makes sense. The 13th of June, the 19th of June, the 27th, and then we get into July. So far, this makes sense because I'm concerned about how long it's been since I've contacted them, and do I need to follow up. Now, in the case that there was a certain number of days where they needed to follow up. And in order to do that, but we're just going to work with what we have given. I'm going to highlight F11 down to F19. And I'm going to come up into this area over here, the styles, and I'm going to use conditional formatting. And I'm going to use a highlight sales rule. And I'm going to come down here to where it says text that contains, or I could put, I've got, yeah, okay. I've got the date, and I can use that. Oh, no. I know what I'm doing. Text that contains the word no. There we go. My apologies. So the red indicates these are places where people need to be contacted. And so what we've done here is we've highlighted the assumptions or documentation area. Then down here in the computational part and output part, we built some table ribbons to set it off, make it look nice. Then we had a sub ribbon here. Then we put in a cells, borders, excuse me. I'll go back to this for a minute. There we go. And then we put the data, we put these dates into ascending order from the earliest to the latest. And then anywhere it said no under follow-up, we put red ink, we used a red background, red fill, and red font so that we're alerted about this. And they had the emails and the day and a telephone number and the name of the first and last person. And so I can make a decision on who needs follow-up and how quickly. Now, what we don't have here is data indicating, and we're going solely on the basis of how long it's been since we called them. Okay? I'm going to close this off for a minute. I'll say yes. I've got it on my desktop. And I'm going to close this. And we'll go back to the workshop. Now let's go back up to the modules. And I want to, just for everybody's sake, and I think we did this last night, I showed you where to find the data that you needed for XLSX1, access case number 1. I'll open this up. And again, this tells us the business problem we're dealing with, the case. Here was an example. We just got through looking at whistle cleaners. And here's files to upload, files from the Winston text, and that is the files to upload for worksheet credit. And I told you we're going to use bakery to temp, and I said see the tab name customers. And I refer to the figure in the chapter that deals with that. Well, I'm going to pop up the textbook, and I say, okay, when I'm in that guide there, I say, okay, look at figure 1.5, and here it is. And notice that we've got some cell referencing. And I showed you all of that last night. And so what we find is we have the starred customers, and I talked about using this. These are assumptions. Where we start at, how many we add each new year, and the churn rate. And the authors show you the formulas. All right. Now I want to show you something here. And the key that I uploaded for XLS, for Excel case number 1, the key that I uploaded. I'll grab it here for a minute. Here it is. Now I had you embellish it by creating an assumptions area, okay, and putting in some nice fill. Again, we built the table. We put ribbons above and below. And we proceeded to do our work. Now I stopped at 6 cases. But let's look at what's going on. Here's customers. Notice it equals C2. And when I put my cursor here, it goes hot. All right. The new customers. We talked about cell referencing, okay? A dollar sign in front of the column means it's pinned to the column. You're going to go down. If you put a dollar sign in front of the row, it means it's pinned to the row, so you'll go across. Then if you have a dollar sign in front of the letter and a dollar sign in front of the row, that means we pin it right there. Now we did this with the new per year. And notice we just simply did that, and we dragged and dropped, and we were good to go. Now we have to compute those who quit. So here's the formula. And I took the formula C4, which is our starting data. And notice I have C4 in an absolute cell reference. It's referring to that churn rate times C2 plus C3. Now notice, this is just by review, that I put a dollar sign in front of the columns, in other words, those letters, to indicate to Excel that I'm working in a column. Now let's look at the next one. And notice this is C4, and that's the assumption times C9. Then we have C10, C11, and D11. And then we get the ending customers, which is C8 plus D8. That's the start, how many we have at the start of the period, and any new customers we have, minus those who quit, the churn rate. And then, of course, here, okay, we had to reference back to the ending number of customers. And these captions could be a little bit more telegraphic, meaning a little bit more spelled out, so it's very clear about what we've got. And we got our assumption, we've got the churn rate, and we've got the ending customers. Now, I also spoke about the fact that the nice thing about the assumptions area is this. We can manipulate this if we want to. And so, and I talked about last night, the churn rate is 0.15, okay? Now, if I change that to 1.0, watch what happens. The ending number of customers is much better than it was when we're at a churn rate of 0.15. Put that back in, and there we are. What does this mean? Well, here we're saying, okay, the higher the churn rate, the lower the number of ending customers we'll have. The higher the lower the churn rate, the higher the number of customers we end up with. Okay? The higher the churn rate, the lower number of customers. So when the churn rate is high, the number of end customers goes down. When the churn rate is low, the number of customers goes up. And we talked about that. And this shows us or reflects to us the importance of brand loyalty. And I talked about the Markov analysis and how that worked. So that's what we're essentially doing here. And we embellished it some. Now I'm going to diminish this for just a moment. And I'm going to go back up here into the website. And here is the, I referenced that in where do you find this stuff? Here it is, we have start, the new per year, and the churn rate. We start at year 1, okay? Then we add 20 customers. Now, the authors don't put a formula in here or a cell reference. They should have. And then the quits, okay? and we get the quits in. They don't show us the cell. They don't show us the cell. They don't show us the formula. Now, if this was an actual spreadsheet, if I click on this, I'm going to see the formula to get what's in the quits. And then we get the ending number of customers. Oh no, okay. They show us pardon me, I'm so sorry. They show us those formulas here on the other side. They show us the start formula, row by row. I apologize. The quit formula, row by row, and notice this assumption. Okay, and then we get the end formulas. And again, I'll go back to, and I had posted the key for XLSX1. I've also posted the key for XLSX2, and we're going to go back to our trusty guide, and we're going to now focus on XLS2. And this deals with a problem, a marketing problem, a sales problem of sales conversion stages. People go through various steps before they make a purchase. And also using the name manager. I have an example for you called Athena Beauty. Let's take a look at it. Go back here to the and I'm going to go into the files section. Okay. And I'm going to look for Athena. And there's Athena Beauty XLSX. I'm going to download this to my desktop. Okay, I did it twice, so I'll put this in the folder. I'm going to put it on my desktop. And I'm going to rename it Athena Beauty A, and I'm going to put this is underscore Armin, so that I won't have any trouble uploading the work. Now, I'm going to open this up. Let's take a look at it. This is the example I talked about, and I'll enable the editing. Now, what we're doing, this is a company that has a website, and so they're trying to figure out, they're developing a marketing trends report, and they're trying to analyze how well their website's doing. Now, they have some important information. You'll see I've got some borders here. I don't have border down here, but I should. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to copy it and then format paint. And I'm going to do this. So I have a nice border. Since that's an awfully big border right here, see? So I'm going to come down here to row 25 and I'm going to add some height to it. Now I'm not going to make it as big as the one up there because the size of this border drives the reader down to this point. But I am going to do some things here. I'm going to take total. I'm going to embellish it a little bit more. And you'll see, note, you'll see I've inserted some comments. Note the use of absolute cell addressing. Cell addressing, not salad dressing. Sound like that, didn't it? And the correct results of the percent of total will add up to be 100%. Let's notice Athena has a website. Now people come to it, and so they have made the Athena website's like a landing page, and so they have different people who come into these different websites, and we know how many visitors to our website came from Fashionista, Google, etc. Now I have to determine the shoppers, okay? And we get, and we have the number of shoppers here is 35. And we're given, and in that case, we're given some of the data and others we're not. Here is one in which it's not. Here we're going to take C10 divided by B10 to get the percentage of visitors who converted to shoppers. In other words, these folks came to the website. These folks started clicking around looking at stuff. So we want to know what percentage of those shoppers, of those visitors, start shopping. They might click an item, look at it. Then we want to see, okay, how many of them attempted to buy something? And we're given a number. I think these are numbers. And then we do a calculation. We want to look at the shoppers converted to attempted buyers. You see what I'm see? Follow this. This follows us that sales conversion piece. They visit. They come here. They visit. They start clicking around. So they're shoppers, and we get that percentage. Then they attempt to purchase something. And we take the number of shoppers who are converted to attempted buyers. And notice the formulas, and notice the cell referencing. Now, I could have been old school and just simply put the $ in front of the column and then just simply execute a drag and drop. But I'm going to do that because I got a little bit of sloppy form here. And I'm putting a $ in front of the column. Okay? And now I'm ready to drag and drop. And notice what I've got going on. And I come down to E22 divided by C22. E22 is I had 14 attempted buyers. There's cell E22. In fact, I can just make them go hot by clicking in the formula bar. And then I have the number of shoppers. Now, I come back over here now, and I have the buyers. These are people who put stuff in a cart. So we want to find out the attempted buyers who actually made a purchase. Here are the attempted buyers. We had 16 of them. We had 7. So we click this and we get G10 divided by E10. Buyers divided by attempted buyers. Okay, and again here you said, Dr. Harmon, would it be smart or best practice to put the $ in front of the columns since we're working with the columns? And my answer would be yes. It's best practice. It's not necessary here, but I think it's always good so you understand you're working with a column. We'll press that, and then I'll just simply drag and drop. Now, finally, we want to know, I'm going to take this note. I'll move it over here just a hair. And I'll size these up a little bit. As I mentioned to you last night, you'll want to embed maybe a blank pad, or you may want to use the comments piece here. Why? Because you may forget what you did, and you also want to have it there to make it simpler for the end user. For the end user. So now we've got the total number of the visitors who purchased. Okay. And so we have G10, which is buyers, divided by visitors. And again, you say, Dr. Harmon, should I use the dollar sign to make sure we're clear it's a column? And I would say, yes. You want to make sure. It's just good practice. The whole idea is to make it easy on you. And as I said before, we're trying to teach you how to drive the car. Okay? Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to come down, drag and drop, and there we are. Okay? And those are expressed as a percentage. And you'll see the rows change, but the columns stay the same. Then we finally have the percent of total visitors by source. We want to know, okay, we had 2,309 visitors. Where did they come from? Pardon me. So I'm going to take B10, okay? And that's divided by B24. Now I notice I kept B24 as an absolute cell reference, dollar sign in front of the column, dollar sign in front of the number, because it just saves us the time to do that. Now I've got B10, okay, and I come next, I'll see B11. So just up here in this formula, I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of the B, because I'm staying and working with column B. Okay? And we come all the way down here. Boom. Now, this, when it's totaled, should be 100%. And it is, and we're good. Now, as I'd said, note the use of absolute cell addressing. So now I have an excellent chart that shows me, an excellent table that shows me where folks are coming from, what the source, what percentage of them, and people say from Fashionista, for example, that 126, what does that represent in terms of total visitors? And now I'm ready, if I want to come into Athena. And I can do a custom sort. Make sure it says my data has headers. And I'm going to sort them on the number of visitors from the largest to the smallest. I would click that, and boom. We can move these if we want to. And so we can say, all right, Yahoo was our most visited site. It consists of 11% of our total visitors by source. And it shows us the number of visitors who purchased. So about 3% of those people purchased. And you could see, I could also look at, who purchased, etc. So that's a nice little example for us to look at. one final thing I would do here is I'd come inside, and just to make it, I would make sure that everything in here from A10 down to J22, I'll put all borders. It's just easier to look at. And I could do what I wished with these. I could do what I wish in terms of the display here. You note I could also use conditional formatting. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to use, now I have the visitors, I have it lined up in terms of the highest number of visitors at a given source down to the lowest. I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to use conditional formatting on the data, the number of buyers, okay? And I'm going to use a gradient fill. That would look nice here. I don't think the red's a good one. I think I'd stick with the blue. And here's what it does. It's a nice feature because it basically gives me a bar chart. And so I can start to look. Now, although Yahoo sends me a lot of visitors, they don't send me that many buyers. How do I know? Because as I look at this bar chart that's approximated, I get more buyers from Nordstrom, more from Saks, and more from 17. So I've got to ask myself, what am I paying for here? Am I getting the bang for buck from any one of these given sites? And this provides me a nice little picture that I can see quite easily. I can take this and put it into a chart, but it's not always necessary that we do so. Okay? I could use another, I'll click on conditional formatting. I'll put clear rules from the selected cells. So we'll take the rules off. I need to select the cells, don't I? And we'll clear the rules from the selected cells. All right. Now I'm going to use another approach. I'm going to use what we would call a choropleth or a, okay? And we go from green is good, yellow neutral, red is bad. And you could see, now I can really easily identify. This is just a little bit more intuitive in terms of telling me what I'm looking at. Okay? Well, that's pretty much as far as Athena beauty products goes. And you don't have to turn this in or anything. I just wanted to show you an example so you could see, and you see a very familiar pattern where I build borders, I build table headings for the tables, and I make sure of assumptions. And then I come in here and I make sure of cell referencing, and I'll put don't save. All right. And this is the key that we did from number 1. And I talked about that last night. All right. We're going to move on here. And we'll close this. And we're going to take a look at case number 2. And I have the key for you, so you can download the key and look at it. You can download the key, save it to a desktop, then reload it to get the credit. Okay? Now, I'm going to go down to my desktop because I have the key for XLS2. XLS2, and the Athena we just looked at is the example. And then we have the file that you need to upload for credit. And it's called named rows temp. And the related text material, chapter 2, figure 217, and then I tell you where to find it. So let's go back up here for a moment, and we're going to go over to the text. I'll make sure I have that. Chapter 2, figure 2.17. Okay. So I'm going to go in my textbook over here, and I'm going to look for chapter 2. And I'm going to look for chapter 2, figure 2.7. 2.17, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the use of the name manager. Now, this is part of a big case, and several of these that are related, but this is where we're going to use another cell referencing technique that's a little bit easier to understand. We're going to declare that a certain cell or set of cells, an array, represents some number, i.e. a variable. And you can take a look there and see it. In fact, they'll give it to you. If I click on this, it'll just show you the whole thing. They show how to do it. So I'm going to diminish this, and I'm going to get the XLSX2 key, and I'm going to open it up, and let's take a look. Now, I have two variables here. One of them is the day of the week, so I'm going to give that a fill color. I'm going to make those bold so it's very clear. And then I've got wage, hours, and payroll. Now we know that the wage times the number of hours gives us the payroll amount. And I'm going to do, let me see what I want to do. I'm going to do a nice salmon color there, and we'll go ahead. Now, we use the name manager to do a computation. Now we have these figures, and I want to click up here for just a minute. I'll click on the formulas, and you'll see a thing called name manager. Or you also could do Control F3. And the name manager tells us if we've identified a single cell or an array of cells to represent something. And it will show us the values, and then it will show us where inside the workbook or worksheet that it refers to. And the variable called hours is represented by the cells F13 to L13. Now we have another one called wage. And that wage, is represented by these values right here. And then it refers to this part of the sheet F12 to L12. We go back to hours, well now it would be pretty tedious. Now we could do cell referencing, as I've showed you, to do this entire column. This is like a multiplication table for all intents and purposes. But look what I have. I have wage times hours. And because I've defined the hours, these right here, these data, as part of the hours array, and it's because I have defined these as part of the wages array, I'm able to do the math. And I'm going to click on the formula bar, and you could see wage times hour. We're going to do some more uses of the name manager. The name manager helps us define a variable, give it a human name as opposed to just a cell reference. And then we can do mathematical actions with it. Now I'm going to go ahead, and since we have payroll, all right, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Monday, go home, I'm going to click copy, format painter, boom, okay? Now there's some other things I want to do with these data just to make them look nicer. I'm going to make sure I'm going to select cell F12 down to L14. I'll make sure that they are centered. I could put them all to the right. I could put them to the left, but they look best centered. And then, as you would guess, I'm going to go ahead and put all borders in here. And then it's much easier to see. So we've done some nice work with this. And we've used the name manager to do some computation. Okay? And that's XLS2. And I uploaded a key for you last night, and that's fine. Let's talk about what you got going on. And we did a little navigating through the textbook. So you've got the key for XLS1. You should download the key, then upload it. Same thing with XLS2. And we've talked about what are these about. XLS1, and then XLS2, the business problem and the spreadsheeting skill that we're dealing with. Now we've done number 3, that's Guardian Roofing Payroll. And there's also this using the if statement. And that's over in chapter 12. And I had you go ahead and upload Guardian. If you want to go over and look at that in chapter 12 and play around with that file, I've showed you where to get it, etc. Go ahead and be my guest. But whatever, put either one of those or Guardian in that upload XLS2 here. Then you have a financial ratios quiz. Now I know there's going to be people going, where would I find this stuff for that? Here it is. Resources for 1123 quizzes and exams. I think I have it on my desktop. And I do. I'm going to open this up. And for the financial ratios quiz, there's a resource. It's called XLS4. It's in the files section of Canvas. Here's Dabney case Excel 4, the financial ratio analysis. Those resources are all there in Canvas in the files section. And you'll be doing the computation of some financial ratios. We'll be answering some questions about some. So there are the resources. Okay. Now, let's talk about what's coming up next week. So I'm going to close off this. Next week, which is the 6th, you should have already uploaded Guardian Roofing Payroll. That was that payroll register I showed you. Then you have a quiz on a few. That's the big text, the Stephen Few text, chapters 2 through 4. And just by way of reminder, I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to go to Amazon. And I'll put in Show Me the Numbers. And here we so Show Me the Numbers, and there's the Stephen Few text. And I'll be over chapters 2 through 4. And then I have some other things, like I try to also provide you some what I call curated resources. Here's a link to Wolfram on the Golden Rule. Here's a short history of accounting ratios, a document. Here's a site, big charts. Here's NASDAQ's stock comparison tool, Google's company comparison. These are resources that you can take a look at. Okay, well, folks, I promised you that I would do a second recording. And I've done that, and I showed you what we did with XLS2. I showed you the example, and then I showed you the actual file we're going to where to locate it, and the Excel file that contains where do I find this stuff. And you'll want to look in the textbook, and I mentioned a figure like 2.17 for this case out of chapter 2. And so that's pretty much it. What I will do is for next week, I will go over to Zoom and I'll set up a Zoom invitation and I'll post it in the announcements section. And that'll be your invitation for the ground-based part of the course. And that's where we meet from 6 p.m. to 7:30 or so. And I do a live screencast. And then, of course, this is the virtual part where I'm doing a screencast, and it's here, and it'll be here for you on demand. Okay? Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope as you see this, you have either had or you are having a wonderful, wonderful Labor Day holiday. And if you're driving back, please, please, please be careful. We love you and we want you to come back. And if you don't come back, who've I got to torture? I'm making a joke there about myself. I look forward to seeing you next week. Those of you who joined last week, and I'm going to say this to everybody, I can check to see who logs in. I had a pretty good number of you for a Thursday night before a holiday. And those of you who weren't there last night, you need to be logging in over the weekend and taking a look. For those of you who were there last night, I really enjoyed working with you, seeing you, etc. Okay? If you have any questions or problems, you're always welcome to send me an email, and I'll try to respond to it as quickly as possible. God bless you. Have a wonderful holiday. Be safe and come back to us. And I'll see you next week.